Happy WNBA regular season night. It's Jim and it's Amadeus and Amadeus. Uh, I don't think there's ever been this much excitement over a WNBA season than we're hitting tonight.
Yeah, I mean, how can there not be? Obviously, you got this generational talent on the court tonight, so we're finally going to see how she shapes up with the professionals. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting night in the WNBA for sure.
We spoke about this. I'm not sure whether it was off camera or on, but the WNBA you'd mentioned has been something you can wager on for a while now. Have you seen? And obviously, it's ridiculously early to even predict this, but have you seen any uptick in wagering on the WNBA now that Caitlin Clark is in the league?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people always handicap the WNBA just because it runs at a nice time where it doesn't really compete too much with the men's sports. It usually, obviously, NBA and NHL still have their playoffs going on, but soon there's not going to be a game every night once we get down to the two best teams, and even then these series can be tricky once you get to the playoffs to figure out. So yeah, a lot of people turn to baseball, and specifically with baseball, they turn to the WNBA as well. So definitely there's always been an interest, but I would say that there is an uptick. I mean, I'm looking at my sports book here, and they have WNBA listed under the popular tab with MLB and NHL. So, yeah, definitely. They wouldn't have seen that a year ago or two. So, definitely a lot of hype for the season.
Well, tonight we have 4 games. The Liberty at the Mystics. That's a 7 p.m. tip. It's on ESPN3, or if you happen to be like myself and use Sling as your streaming network for live streaming. And highly recommend. Go to stream.com, take a 7-day trial and see what you like. It's Liberty at Mystics. Now, the Fever is at the Sun. That's a 7:30 tip. And that game will be on ESPN2. Sling, and here's the kicker, because they're starting to move. They are moving some of their games there. And that's Disney Plus. So Disney Plus will have quite a few WNBA games this year. And finally, we have a couple of late night starts. The Mercury at the Aces, that's at 10 p.m. on the Deuce on ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and Sling. And then Lynx at Storm. That's a 10 p.m. game, ESPN3 and Sling for those games. So 4 games tonight, and games that will probably have a lot more viewership than they did last season when this whole thing got started. So you've got ESPN now and ABC, along with Ion TV, who have the WNBA. And it's going to make for some very interesting and very entertaining basketball.
Yeah, definitely. And it's obviously, it's going to be a big season for the WNBA to grow. And they just announced that they're having an expansion as well. They'll be adding 2 new teams come 2026. And I'm telling you, Jim, someone from the WNBA is watching the show or something, because I've been harping on it for the last year, even 2 years, about, why doesn't the WNBA expand? Give Toronto a team, let Drake, the MLSC, get them together. Drake he feels like he's a part owner in the Raptors. Well, let's invest in a WNBA team. And sure enough, it was announced this week that, or actually I think over the weekend, that Toronto is one of the teams or one of the cities that will be getting an expansion WNBA team, as well as, so they're the eastern side, and then on the western side, they'll be getting Golden State. And Golden State has actually already picked their team name. They're going to be the Golden State Valkyries, and they have a logo picked out already. So you can go check out their logo. Just look up Golden State Valkyries, and it'll come up.
Start buying merch.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a nice little purple like V thing. So very very nice.
by the way, I don't want to be remiss. The NBA TV and also um, Prime will have a Thursday night WNBA game every week now, all the way through the end of the season. So there's plenty of opportunities to watch WNBA basketball, which is phenomenal. I would also think that it would make sense because Canadians, and you can you can back me up if I'm wrong. Canadians support women's sports. I've seen this, places almost sold out for the women's team, and the women's soccer team. I know that they have been. I've been there for the women's hockey, and that's wall to wall situation as well. So I would imagine that not only would the Toronto team do well, but it might not be a bad idea to try to reach out and see what the WNBA team might do in, say, a Winnipeg or a Calgary or some of these other places that's not as metropolitan as a Toronto, a Montreal, or a Vancouver.
Yeah, 100%. And we just recently saw it with the professional women's hockey league there that
Mm-hmm.
the one that they just started up. And
Mm-hmm.
Toronto's got a team there for obvious reasons.
Sure.
You got to have Toronto in there for hockey. But I think Montreal has a team as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so definitely, we'll come out and support the team for sure. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for that. The one thing I will say about the professional women's hockey league is I'm very disappointed in them because none of the teams have team names. They just go by the city. It's just like Toronto versus New York.
Well,
There's
that's
no
not.
team name. Yeah, and everybody I've talked to up here, men, women, doesn't matter who it is, they all say the same thing to me about I don't know why why wouldn't you give them team names? It makes no sense. Everybody's in agreement that let's give the women's hockey league some team names,
Yeah.
please.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he said, "I said, what you doing?" Is I'm waiting for my tickets to the Herons Lions game, and I'm like, "What are you talking about? The Herons Lions game?" And he goes, "Soccer." I go, "The Herons? Where? What? What is the? Who's the Herons and the Lions?" He goes, "Orlando and Miami." I
Yeah,
said, I'll be honest with you. I've been around the MLS since the MLS started, and I didn't know that that Orlando City was called the Lions. Now I should have probably known that. I didn't know that Miami was called the Herons.
yeah, and it's funny because right, like soccer is the kind of sport you don't really think they have team names, but like
Mm-hmm.
even in England, Brentford
Yeah.
is the Bees,
Mm-hmm.
Brighton is the Seagulls. So
Mm-hmm.
these are things. Wolverhampton, everybody calls them the Wolves. The Wolves isn't even in their name. The city is Wolverhampton. They're actually the Wanderers or the Wolverhampton Wanderers. But we call them the Wolves. That's the thing. So
Right.
this is what I mean. Is like people don't realize soccer has the team name. So I'm just a
Mm-hmm.
little disappointed.
Yeah.
Let's start a petition, something. If someone's listening out
Yeah.
there,
There you go.
get some surveys out there. Throw it out to the Toronto
Mm-hmm.
people, the New York team, wherever these women's
Mm-hmm.
hockey teams are. Toronto and New York are just the two I can think of right now. But let's put a survey out. Give us like 20 names, like Utah's
Yeah.
doing for the NHL right now, and let the fans choose the team name. Let's do it up.
I like what they're doing in Utah. I do because they're going to pick a name that I'm sure is going to be be very representative. I saw the names that they had out there. I thought that any one of them would have been pretty good.
Yeah, I know. I'm a fan of the Freeze, the Utah Freeze, and
Yeah, that's a cool one.
my girlfriend's a big fan of the Utah Caribou. So
Okay.
we'll see what they pick. Personally, I think the best name is for Utah is the Utah Avalanche, but we'll have to relocate Colorado there for
Yeah, it's
that.
good. You have to pry that out of Stan Kroenke's hands. Yeah, it's just what you do not want to be dealing with Stan Kroenke. You will not end up on the right end of any stick in that regard. So let Stan have it. But Yeah, yeah, but no, there's not a bad name in that whole Utah situation out there. So, but I do agree with you. I mean, team names are important, but I just you get to see Inter Miami and Orlando City playing each other, and I just there's no name on the jersey. There's not a logo on the jersey. There's nothing that would indicate that Orlando is the Lions or Miami is the Herons. And we're so used to seeing something on the jerseys in all the professional sports that indicate the names of the team that it's just it can be a bit surprising. So come on, guys, put some names out there for the women's hockey league.
And the other thing I will say about it
Hmm.
is let's be like the WNBA as well. Like
Hmm.
notice the WNBA besides Connecticut because they have no imagination over there apparently. Um, uh, the best thing to do, like I love the WNBA names because you don't see the Lynx in any of the men's sports. You don't see the
Hmm.
Ace. You don't see the
Right.
Seattle Storm. So if we're gonna give the women's hockey league and the team names, make
Hmm.
them unique, right? Like how we see, the Golden State Valkyrie. We don't see this enough. I'm picking on Connecticut because obviously, the Suns. I think we could have got a little more creative with that one, but other than that, I love every other what they've done with the names. So that's what
Well,
I see
it,
as,
it
keep
in fairness to the folks in Connecticut, okay, it was the Mohegan Sun.
yeah, it's branding.
Uh, yeah, the Mohegan Sun tribe out there who own that casino are we're a little persuasive would be I guess the polite way of putting it that the Sun be in that name.
Yeah, because they
So
play. I think the stadium they play at is the Mohegan Sun, right?
they play in the Mohegan Sun has a performing venue, which is where they play their basketball games, is at the Mohegan Sun, pavilion there. So
Yeah,
the seating arrangement is such that it can be made into a number of possible seating arrangements, and it can seat up to 11,000 people, and so yeah, they actually have a number of women's basketball tournaments, college tournaments at the Mohegan Sun right there in which they sponsor, and good on them. So, yeah, Connecticut,
Oh,
Connecticut is
I knew they
Suns.
had a hand in the name. It's just
Yep.
it's branding. That's all it is,
Yeah,
right? But
it's like
it's
we're putting $10 million into the team. The least you could do is name us after
yeah.
us.
And they still tried to make it unique. They're like, no, we're just the Sun.
Mhm.
It is different technically.
Not the Mohegan Sun. It's just the Sun.
Just
You
the
just
Sun, not
happen
the
to
Phoenix
go.
Suns, not the Mohegan Sun, just Sun.
You you now have to go through the sports book to get to your seat in the arena. So
Place your bet on the way in. Come on.
place your bet on the way in, collect your bet on the way out. So there you go. Did they make it easy? Come on. The only thing that they could do differently is have somebody bring it to you when you're sitting in your seat.
Well,
So
that's what they did at Pittsburgh, there, right? Right
mhm.
beside Heinz Field,
Yeah.
and where the Pirates play and all that. They put a Bet
Mhm.
Rivers Casino right there, and my buddy
Yep.
told me too. That's why he always stops at the casino in Washington, Pennsylvania. He's like, I don't want to go to the Bet Rivers, but they do it there. So like, if you need to go place a live bet or something, you're tempted because it's right there. Like, oh, you can just walk over and pop back.
Well, in the Caps, where the Caps play at the Capital One Arena, uh, they have literally the building that is connected to the arena is a sports book, and so you can go have your dinner right before the game, a little pregame snack or whatever, a couple of drinks, say hello to your buddies, get ready, place your bet, walk out of out of the bar into the arena, and not even get wet if it's raining. It's they make it convenient. They also have the way that Washington set it up is their casino situation is such that the sports books are literally at the venues where the teams play. So the arena, the Caps, it's Caesars. It's Caesars at the Capital One Center, which is where the Capitals and Wizards and others play. And over at the National Park, it's MGM. So when you come in, you can go to the MGM area there, the little MGM sports book, and make your wager and walk on out to your seat. So they do make it simple. That makes
You know who invented that, Jim?
What's that? Who's that?
That was us. The Cardinals. We were the first one to put the sports book in the stadium. They put that BetMGM,
Good.
I believe it was, in State Farm. A few years ago, it was
in the arena.
A year or two ago, where the Arizona Cardinals play, and we won't put a winning team on the field for you, but we're more than happy to take your money on the way in.
There's no problem with that. I mean, economics, my friend. Okay. I don't know if you have already done it. Taken your clubs out, your golf clubs, and dusted them off a little bit. But this week, the PGA Tour is having the PGA Championship, and it's a Jack Nicklaus designed course in Louisville, Kentucky. And it's let me see if I'm trying to I had it here a second ago. There it is. It's a Valkyra golf club in Louisville. It's a Jack Nicklaus designed course. It's a par 71, and it's pretty long as courses go. It measures 7,542 yards, and it has bent grass greens. So bent grass greens tend to be very quick if it's dry. Bruce Koepka won this tournament last year. Scotty Scheffler and Victor Hovland finished second in the tournament. And I want you to surprise us if you can, because you're our odds guy. I know that people are breathlessly awaiting who is the favorite for this tournament.
Yeah,
drum roll, please.
This might come as a bit of a shock for some of our viewers, but the favorite for the PGA Championship this year is none other than Scotty Scheffler at plus.
No, I'm still.
I know, right? I totally would have thought, Tiger or maybe somebody else with somebody else with some more age on them was going to get the job done this year.
Now, in 2014, the PGA Championship was played at this course. Okay, and then if history has anything to do with it, Rory McIlroy won that tournament in 2014 on this course. Now, all that means is Rory knows the course, but it's been 10 years, so that's a long time between in not playing a course. I mean, Rory's played a lot of courses in those last 10 years. So I'm not so sure what memory he has of it. I'm sure he has a fond memory because you like winning the majors that way. But he definitely, played the course well. But man, Scotty Scheffler is just playing out of his mind, and so there's some good money here. I'm looking at John Rahm. I think John Rahm at plus 1,600. At least I'm seeing plus 1,600 here from me. Wouldn't be a bad bet.
Brooks Koepka, plus 14.
Yeah, I was going to say Brooks would not be a bad bet either.
And it's funny, you mentioned Rory there because he's number 2 on the list, plus 700.
I see that, yeah.
he's been shooting up this last week because he just won that tournament over the weekend. So now
Yeah.
everybody's like, "Oh, he's in form." As you said, he won this one on this course 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's like riding a bike. He's gonna go back and 6 under every day.
Probably not, but just saying, Rory. Rory won in New Orleans, but that was a team thing with he and he paired up on that one. The, I, According to a couple of folks that I spoke to who know golf, they kind of liked as their dark horse in this. Two of them like Max Homa, and one of them like Bryson DeChambeau. I can buy Max. I can't buy Bryson DeChambeau.
I was gonna say Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, like other than his 400-yard drive, what does he really bring to the table? He hasn't really won it in forever. Max Homa, I can buy because I always hear his name come up in these tournaments. But he didn't look bad at the Masters. Like he looked good so far. So. I can buy. I'm with you. I can buy on Homa. I will say, there's a name up here. Maybe because I don't watch every tournament every weekend, but I've never really seen this name. You could tell me a little more about him.
Sure.
But the one who's right ahead, Bryson DeChambeau at plus 1,800. This Ludwig Aberg. Or maybe he plays on the European tour and
he does, and he comes to the U.S. to play some of the majors, and also he'll play a handful of tournaments here. He mainly plays in Europe. But that being said, this is a guy who he's not going to dazzle you, right? But every time you look up on the leaderboard, he's in the top 3 or 4 and challenging for tournaments. Now, I don't know if this course plays well for him because European courses tend to be a bit shorter than this, and they tend to be more. I guess the best way of putting it is they play with more bunkers and more water. So that's kind of the way the courses in Europe are set up, where it's I'm going to use a word, and it's probably not the right word, and that would be gimmicks. Is what in other words, they gimmick the course up. In my mind, they throw bunkers around every green. They throw water, where they create ponds where there aren't any. So it's like playing a golf course where they are trying to get you to screw up, okay, rather than letting the course be the whole thing. All that being said, this kid is not a bad player, and he certainly could he win? Sure. I mean, he's got there. You got him between Bryson DeChambeau and John Rahm at 1,800. That is not, you're not going to throw somebody in there at that place and not think they can win.
Yeah, what it sounds like to me with these European courses is that they don't have a lot of the natural landscape and the forests that we have here, the trees.
Yeah.
So they have to invent hazards, throw a bunker there, make a pond there, which makes sense. But yet, I guess here there's more natural, right? It's more trees.
Yeah.
I would say probably on the golf course just because it's more of a natural feel in that sense. But there's more woodland areas here as well. So that does make sense to me. But hey, that's going to help them out, I guess, that there's less hazards. I mean, the forest, you obviously don't go in the forest, but if you can keep the ball straight, that's not too much of an issue compared to having to play around a lot of water and sand. And if he's a guy you say is always, up at the top of the leaderboard, maybe he's somebody you don't take to win, but take him for like a top 10 finish or something at plus 1,800. You should get some decent odds on the top 10.
That would not be a bad. That wouldn't be a bad bet because I'm thinking. I'm thinking that that's something that I could see him doing that. I could see him finishing in the top 10. I could see him possibly even finishing in top 5. He's got that. He's got that kind of game. Now, one of the things, in fairness, one of the things and one of the reasons that Seti Ballesteros and you know and why am I blanking on the other Sergio Garcia um, came over from Spain and did well was um, a lot of U.S. golfers went to Spain, played in Spain and parts of Italy. And if you play golf in Spain and Italy, you're very likely to look at a course that looks very much like a U.S. course over there. So while on the continent of Europe, you get some of these things I spoke about, the gimmick courses. If you play in Spain and Italy, you don't get that. And from Spain, I'm sorry, from Italy, that you don't have to worry about hills in Italy. They're there. You don't need any gimmicks in Italy. You need a mountain goat, perhaps, as your caddy in some of those courses.
Oh,
And
definitely. Some of
Spain,
those roads are wild.
yeah. And Spain, it's just Spain is fun because the courses are narrow, they're unforgiving, but they're fair. You know, you hit the ball straight, you're good. You don't, you're gonna need a guide to get you out. Perhaps you were talking about forest. You might need a forest ranger to get you out. So it's a good, interesting thing. So the PGA Championship, it's kind of the one championship of the majors that is probably, for whatever reason, I don't know why, the least thought of. It's the one that they're like, if I won a U.S. Open, that'd be cool. If I won a British Open, that'd be cool. If I won the Masters, that'd be great. PGA, you want to win it, but it just doesn't get the respect, I guess, as the others do, for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Like, I get the Masters. Everybody wants to play because it's the same course every year. Augusta this, Augusta that, and then obviously the Open Championship. It's on a completely different continent.
Right.
Normally over there in Europe. So and even with the U.S. Open, I like. Maybe it's a U.S. thing. To me, the course isn't even nice. They usually pick for the U.S. Open. It's just like it's always super challenging, and maybe that's part of the mindset is like, hey, I won my championship on the toughest course that we're gonna see this year, because they're just trying to like murder us out there on the course when they pick the U.S. Open for some reason.
The interesting thing to me about the U.S. Open is that the courses they pick are incredibly long. They're brutal if you go off the course. If you go off the course, you are in some serious cabbage over there. I mean, you need a sickle and something to get you to find. I mean, I can't tell you how many times the guys, professional golfers now, not me, hackers, go off the course and have to take a drop because they can't find the ball.
Yeah, I think it was like last year or a few years ago. I saw so many guys just walking through the fescue, and it's like, we have the cameras, we know where it landed, but you just can't find it in that long grass. Right. I know from firsthand experience too. Like, you're like, my ball's right here. Where the hell is it? And you just can't find it. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, you want the guy who comes and mows the grass the next day to give you your ball back. Yeah, it's a mess, but. The PGA, in a little history lesson real quick, PGA is the only tournament Arnold Palmer never won of the major. So, read into that what you will. It's the PGA courses are interesting in so much as they kind of mirror what the U.S. Open tries to do, but the PGA, if you're a pro, okay, and when I say that, I mean a golf pro at a golf course, okay, you are a PGA. If you truly are, if the course is truly a recognized course, you have gone through PGA school to become a registered PGA member. So the members of the PGA can qualify, just like you can qualify for the U.S. Open, to play on the PGA in the PGA Championship. And since you are being paid to teach people to play golf, you are not an amateur. So if you would happen to win there, you would be able to keep the prize. That being said, no one's ever done that, but it'd be nice to see it sometime.
Would love to see the head pro at the golf course they pick just be like, hey, throw my hat in the ring. I know this course better than I do. No, yeah. I can do this.
Yeah, I was the one that helped trick it out. So there you go.
Yeah, they asked me about this dog leg when they were making it. I got this. I know how to play this one.
I'm going to go one more guy who just might, if he's on, he could do this, and that's Colin Morikawa. That kid can play. He's played. He's one of those guys who occasionally wins, but he's always, seemingly in the area of, in the money, in the top 10. And just for the hell of it, I'm going to say Max Homa and Colin Morikawa might be some long shots you might want to take a look at.
Yeah, honestly, those two are like the same golfer to me. And I mean, hey, Vegas seems to think so because the odds, they're right beside each other there. One's plus 2,500 and one's plus 3,000. But
yeah, they're not far apart.
Or yeah, sorry, I guess Morikawa is 2,800, so even closer. But I totally agree. Morikawa is a guy like Homa. His name's always thrown in the ring every tournament. And it's just a matter of streakiness, right? When he's on, as you said, when he's on, no one's beating him out there on the course. But if he unravels, but that's the problem with every golfer, right? So definitely, I could see Homa or Morikawa doing it.
Real quick, again, one real quick history note. Bruce Crampton is a name that, if you watch golf in the late 60s, early 70s, even to the 80s, Bruce Crampton, year in, year out, was right there at the top of the money list. He never won a major, but he finished in the top 10 every year for 10 consecutive years. And, that's not for nothing. And you look at that and you say, well, maybe Morikawa doesn't win much, or maybe Homa doesn't win many tournaments. But if you are on that top 10 list, you're going to be pocketing, especially these days, you'll be pocketing anywhere from 10 to 15, maybe even $20 million, just by the prize money being what it is. So you don't have to necessarily win a title to get there if you're consistent. And that's what I look for when I look for Homa and Morikawa. They're consistent. Whether they win or they lose, okay, that's it. But they're definitely going to be there, grinding it out on Saturday and Sundays.
Yeah, and that's the consistency, right? Might not win that often, but is always right there.
There you go. All right. Well, before we get out of here, ESPN has announced their college football games that they're going to do this opening week in college football, which opens Saturday, August 24th. And it opens at noon on ESPN in Ireland, where Florida State and Georgia Tech play an ACC regular season game right off the bat, noon on ESPN. From Dublin, Ireland, it's Florida State and Georgia Tech many times. This is about, I believe, maybe the 10th time that a college football game has been played in Dublin to kick off the season. For many years, it was either Boston College that was the home team, or obviously Notre Dame when Notre Dame played there. So it's Florida State, it's Georgia Tech, it's Dublin, Ireland on the 24th, which is a Saturday. The evening game on ABC is a HBCU classic, Florida A&M and Norfolk State. That's being played at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Kickoff time is 7:30 p.m. on ABC. The big Thursday game, this is going to be an interesting one. North Dakota State. Now, we talked about North Dakota State lost their head coach to become the defensive coach at USC. But North Dakota State is like the Alabama of Division II football. They're phenomenal. And they are going to play Deion Sanders and his right now, I don't know what the hell Deion's got going for him. It's just every time you pick up the paper, Deion's, there's problems going on in Colorado. So I don't know what the Buffaloes are going to be like this year. But anyway, 8 p.m. ESPN. Then Friday night, it's Temple at Oklahoma. That is going to be a bloodletting. TCU at Stanford is the late game on ESPN at that time. Then Saturday, the first Saturday, which is the 31st, you've got Clemson at Georgia. That's going to be at the Georgia Dome. That's a noon game. Pray for Clemson, because Georgia is gonna take them to school. I have a feeling.
Hold on. Everybody's got like Georgia and Clemson in their like top 4 for rankings. They play each other in the first game. We're gonna see how fast Clemson gets taken out of those rankings.
Well, one of those two is going to be in the rankings, and I think you're right. It's Kirby Smart is going to be there. You got 3:30. It's Miami at Florida, and that might be two coaches playing for their jobs this year. I mean, I don't know how much longer. I mean, Miami's probably going to hold on to Cristobal because Miami is very hesitant to pull the trigger on getting rid of a coach. Florida, on the other hand, is not, and I think that Billy Napier really has his hands full in that situation with Florida. So the Gators are going to have to come out smoking, or it's going to be a problem. Colorado State at Texas. There's another bloodletting. That's a 3:30 p.m. game. Western Kentucky at Alabama. Okay. That's a primetime game. Really, guys? That's a primetime game. What do hell, that's not a prime. I don't understand why they wouldn't move that game to 3:30 and put Miami against Florida in primetime.
Because it's Alabama. There's no Saban. Doesn't matter.
I guess they've just put the red shirts on and roll them out there. Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Whoa, that's probably the reason they put it on ESPN. They didn't want to lose their audience. That audience for Notre Dame, Texas A&M ought to be really amazing. So Notre Dame going to College Station to take on Jimbo and Texas A&M. Sunday, it's Vegas, baby, and it's USC and LSU. 7:30 prime time on ABC. And then the always Monday night game is Boston College taking on the Seminoles of Florida State University. And let me look at something. Wait a minute. No. Wait. Oh. I'm sorry. That's Monday, September 2nd. Because I'm thinking, wait a minute. Florida State's playing Saturday in Dublin, and then they're playing Monday and against Boston College. It's like, no, that would be the the Sunday game that week that I'm talking about, Sunday, September 1st is USC and LSU. And then Monday, September 2nd, it's going to be Florida State and Boston College. So that's what you're looking for on things coming up with ESPN's what's going to happen this time around. So that's going to be some interesting stuff. The SEC, like we said, has got now Texas and Oklahoma this year. So that's going to be an interesting thing. We know that the ACC has added, Stanford and Cal. That for this time around. So, more importantly, what, my friend, have you got for the viewers out there to wager on in the next few hours?
Yeah, make sure you check out my premium picks at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. The links are in the description below. If you're looking for some action on the pitch tonight, I got plenty of it. Nothing in the afternoon here right after the show in Europe, but all my actions in South America. It's a big Copa Libertadores and Copa Sudamericana night. And I also got one play up for the Liga MX playoffs in Mexico there, so make sure you check that out. And no NBA tonight, but I do have an MLB play that you can grab. I won my MLB play yesterday with the over in the Athletics-Astros game, so make sure you check that out.
There you go. All right, everybody. Tomorrow's Wednesday, and you know what that means. MLS, soccer, and Orlando is hosting the Miami.
The Lions and the Herons, baby.
The Lions and the Herons, baby. I wouldn't have known that 48 hours ago, but I do now. So Lions and the Herons taking each other on in Orlando is just one of many. And we'll take a look at some of those games tomorrow, along with a number of other stuff, which would include what happened tonight in the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, and, of course, kicking off or tipping off, I guess I should say, the WNBA season. So thanks for joining us for Amadeus. I'm Jim. Take care, everybody.